The first submarine that was built in Germany was the Träman Brandtuka, which sunk to the bottom of Kiel Harbor on the 1st of February 1951 during a test dive in the harbor. The inventor and engineer Wilhelm Bauer had designed the vessel in 1850, and Schuffwell and Holtot constructed it in Kiel Harbor. Dredging operations or undersea recovery operations in 1887 rediscovered the Brandtuka, and it was later raised and put on historical display in Germany. There followed in 1890 with the boat of Nordenfeldt I and Nordenfeldt II, built by the Nordenfeldt design. In 1903, the Friedrich German Werfer Dockyard in Kiel completed a fully functional submarine, German-built submarine, the Florel I, which Krupp then sold to Russia during the Russo-Japanese War in April 1904. The SMU was then completely redesigned as a Krupp-class submarine, and only one was built. The Imperial German Navy commissioned it on the 14th of December 1906. It had a double hull, a Kronteng-Kreising engine, or a kerosene engine, and a single torpedo tube. The 50% larger SMU-2, which was commissioned in 1908, had 2 torpedo tubes. The Uniting class in 1912 to 1913 saw the first diesel engine installed in a German Navy boat, period. At the start of World War I in 1914, Germany had 48 submarines of 13 classes in service or under construction. During the war, the Imperial German Navy used the SMU-1 for training purposes. Retired in 1919, it remains on display at the Deutsches Museum in Munich. But we don't care about 1919, we care about 1914 to 1918. On the 5th of September 1914, the HMS Pathfinder was sunk by SMU-21, the first ship to have been sunken by a submarine using a self-propelled torpedo. On the 22nd of September, the unit under the command of Otto Wendigan sunk the obsolete British warships of the HMS Avoca, the HMS Cressy, and the HMS Hogg, or the live bait squadron in a single hour. In the Gallipoli campaign in early 1915 in the eastern Mediterranean, German U-boats, notably the U-21, prevented a close support of Allied troop ships by 18 pre-dreadnought battleships by sinking at least 2 of them, and of course the Turkish submarine mine layer that actually blocked the Dardanelles and preventing the other 16 from actually getting super close support. Besides the nitty-gritty actual war-to-war submarines, we have to talk about, of course, the most widely impacted thing they did, anti-commerce. For the first 3 months of the First World War, from 1914 to 1915, the U-boat anti-commerce actions were observing the Paris rules at the time, which governed the treatment of enemy civilian ships and their occupants, or the crew and other such. On the 20th of October 1914, the SMU-17 sank the first merchant ship, not the Lusitania, but the SS Gratilia, off of the coast of Norway. Surface commerce raiders were proving to be really ineffective, and on the 4th of February 1915, the Kaiser assented to the declaration of a war zone around the waters around the British Isles, from the Isle of Sandwich to Northern Ireland. This was cited as a retaliation to the British minefields and the shipping blockades in the North Sea. Under the instructions given to U-boat captains, they should sink any merchant ship, even potentially neutral ones, without a warning. In February 1915, a submarine that was the U-6 or the Lipius was rammed and both the periscopes were damaged and destroyed off of the beachy heads or the Dover Cliffs by the SS Tordeus, commanded by Captain John Bell RNN, after firing a torpedo at the Tordeus. In February 1915, a submarine or the U-6 or the Lipius was rammed and both periscopes were damaged off of the beachy heads of Dover or the Dover Cliffs by the collier SS Tordeus, commanded by Captain John Bell RNN, after firing a torpedo at the said Tordeus. On the 7th of May 1915, a date that was semi-live in infamy, the SMU-20 sank the liner RMS Lusitania. The sinking claimed 1,198 lives. 128 of them were American civilians. According to the ship's manifest, the Lusitania was carrying military cargo. Though none of this information was readily available to the civilians of Britain and the United States at the time, who thought that the ship contained no ammunition or no military weapons whatsoever, and it was an act of brutal murder on the Germans' part. The munitions it carried were thousands of crates of full ammunition for rifles, 3-inch artillery shells, and also various other standards of ammunition used for the infantry. The sinking of the Lusitania was widely used as propaganda against the German Empire and caused a greater support for the war effort in the nations that it presided in. A widespread reaction in the US did not really come about until the attack of a ferry, SS Sussex, which was carrying many American civilians off of the coast of America. The US then reiterated its objections to German submarine warfare whenever US civilians died as a result of German attacks on neutral or even cargo ships, which prompted the Germans to fully reapply surprise rules. Prize rules, not surprise. The US reiterated its objections to the German submarine warfare whenever US civilians died as a result of German attacks, which prompted the Germans to fully reapply prize rules, not surprise rules. This, however, removed the effectiveness of the U-boat. This, however, removed the effectiveness of the U-boat fleet, and the Germans consequently saw a decisive surface action, a strategy that culminated in the Battle of Jutland. Although the Germans claimed victory at Jutland, the British Grand Fleet remained in control of the North Sea. It was necessary to return to the effective anti-commerce warfare by the U-boat. Vice Admiral Reinhard Schneer, or the man with an iron mask, Commander-in-Chief of the High Sea Fleet, pressed an all-out U-boat warfare, convinced that the high rate of shipping losses would force Britain to seek an early peace before the United States could react effectively or react at all. The renewed campaign was effective at sinking 1.4 million tons of shipping between October 1916 and January 1917. Despite this, the political situation demanded even greater pressure, and on the 31st of January 1917, Germany announced its U-boats would Vice Admiral Reinhard Schneer, or the man with an iron face, Commander-in-Chief of the High Sea Fleet, pressed for an all-out U-boat warfare and convinced that the high rate of shipping losses would force Britain to seek an early peace before the United States could even react effectively. Vice Admiral Reinhard Schneer, or the man with an iron mask, Commander-in-Chief of the High Sea Fleet, pressed an all-out U-boat warfare, convinced that the high rate of shipping losses would force Britain to seek an early peace before the United States could react effectively or react at all. The renewed campaign was effective at sinking 1.4 million tons of shipping between October 1916 and January 1917. Despite this, the political situation demanded even greater pressure, and on the 31st of January 1917, Germany announced that its U-boats would engage in unrestricted submarine warfare yet again, beginning on the 1st of February. On the 17th of March, German submarines sank the 3 American vessels, and the US declared war on Germany in April 24th or 30th, between that time period, 1917. Unrestricted submarine warfare in early 1917 was initially very successful, sinking in major parts of the British-bound shipping. With the introduction of the escort convoys, shipping losses declined, and in the end, the German strategy failed to destroy a significant part of the Allied shipping. An armistice became effective on the 11th of November 1918. Of the surviving German submarines, 14 U-boats were scuttled, 122 were surrendered. Out of 373 German submarines that had been built, 178 were lost by enemy action. Of those, 41 were sunk by mines, 30 by depth charges, and 13 by Q ships, and probably a very small percentage of malfunctions or hitting a rock or toilet injury by one. Yes, the toilet that sunk a U-boat, yes. But seriously, 515 officers and 4,894 enlisted men were killed. They sank 10 battleships, 18 cruisers, and several smaller Navy vessels. They further destroyed 5,708 merchant vessels and shipping vessels for a total of 11,180,856 tons of loss and about 15,000 sailors in the process. The Paul Le Marie, the highest decoration for gallantry for any officer, was awarded to 29 U-boat commanders. 12 U-boat crewmen were awarded and decorated with the Golden Militär Wadishnish-Kurse, or the highest bravery award for the non-commissioned officer and enlisted men. The most successful U-boat commanders of World War I were Luther von Arnold de la Parre, 198 merchant ship vessels and 2 gunboats with 446,708 tons, followed by Walter Frostman, 149 ships with 391,607 tons, and Max Valentinia with 144 ships with 299,482 tons sunk. Do I have the same 100? Anyway, their records have never been surpassed even in the subsequent conflict of World War II. The classes, if you want to know about that, but I just want to say this is pretty much the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're watching, and I know this isn't really the timer. I don't know if you will get to the end of the video. I would really like if you do. I have 26 minutes, but this is easily 10 minutes tops. So this is me rambling on before a list of ships. But what's going down in the fighting and like very smally niche organized by actual people who love the game communities like Smash, probably a few Tekken tournaments as well. Like very niche stuff that are not like organized very properly. There are a lot of predators and stuff inside these communities, so I want you to, if you have a story about it, even if it's not, because it could be very serious, but I just want you all to know that if you have to speak out, do so we can make these places a better place. Because once adults and kids could gather in the same room, there are bound to be pedophiles, sexual assaulters, pedos for the younger children, sexual assaulters for the actual older crowd. You know, who knows, like kidnappers, who knows, whatever. Anybody could get into these communities easily and nobody would never know for years. Because Senpai, Naru, and D1, Kitarino, not all are substantial. Only Nero and D1 have really damning evidence against them, and Keto, while not moving too suspiciously, is really firing back really hard, so he could be, is an allegation. And Senpai has started a purge, so purges are not necessarily the best sign of strength against that. So I just want you all to be aware. I'm not really I don't really compete. As you can see, I do history videos. I read Wikipedia, guys. So I'm not exactly like a tournament founder or a guy that goes to these things, but I do go to a convention, an anime con convention. So it does make sense that you should at least have, you know, these things are niche, and you know everybody's not gonna have $1 billion like San Diego Comic Con or Dragon Con, but a little 100 extra, you know, to have like 2 or 3 policemen to like patrol the grounds and make sure like corners are not, you know, like very interesting corners that people could duck away and hide into, like very unpopular parts of the convention hall itself. I don't want to be over policing, but when you have, like I said, children and adults that truly love the game and really want to just play with each other, well, not in that way, because saying that right now would not be the best way, but y'all know what I mean. Like they want to play Smash, and you know, like they really like look up to people like that, and like they've really been practicing for a while. So to have these kind of things happen and break people's trust is really disheartening. I would have really been disheartened. Oh my gosh. But anyway, guys, I don't like to have over policing, but like I said, when children and adults can be in the same room at the same time, there at least has to be a little extra, right? At least like a police band, like roaming up and down. At least a local police band could take that out of his schedule for like a 2-day tournament. Okay, it shouldn't be that hard. If you want to defund the police, go ahead, but at least make sure for convention police or security staff. At least give them sufficient funds, okay? So anyway, guys, I will leave it here. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. I'm gonna edit the classes before all this ranting, but it doesn't really matter because once we got to, I think, oh no, I gotta do surrender of the fleet. Yeah, so probably not the best idea to start this rant, but anyway, this is more serious than types of U-boats and surrender of the fleet, because we already know what's going down, okay? So anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Just keep an eye out. Love you all. Stay safe. Anyway, the Counting Crescent powered boats. The Counting Crescent powered boats. The Type U1, the Type U2, the Type U3, the Type U5, the Type U9, the Type U13, the Type U16, and the Type U17. The Mitteluntermann diesel boats were the Type U19, the Type 23, the Type U27, the Type U31, the Type U43, the Type U51, the Type U57, the Type U63, the Type U66, and the Type Mittel U. The U-cruisers and merchant boat ships were the Type U-139, the Type U-142, the Type U-151, and the Type UD-1. The UB coastal torpedo boats were the Type UB-1, the Type UB-2, the Type UB-3, the Type UF, and the Type UG. Not Eugene, Eugene. UC coastal mine layers were the Type UC-1, the Type UC-2, and the Type UC-3. And the UE ocean mine layers, or very far out in the ocean, was the Type U1 and the Type U2. As we know,
die Grenzwacht hielt im Osten, dem Feinde lange stand. Heut kehrt ihr letzter Posten zurück ins Vaterland. Erschöpft und aufgerieben in treuer Ritterschaft. Die Besten sind geblieben, uns anderen brach die Kraft. Doch bringen wir die Fahne, die wehen vor uns schwimmt, von Riegers blut'gem Planen, die alle Meeren kennt. Die Sturme wehrt sich nimmer vor einem Feind geneigt. Heute noch und nimmer den Weg nach Osten zeigt. Es rauscht dorthin zu Mahlen, zu ihr der Väter Geist. Trotz aller Not ein Ahnen, das deutsche Zukunft heißt. Sind wir auch fremd geworden, euch Brüdern aus dem Reich?